We would like to thank the Leader of the Opposition and welcome the Member of the Government to make her case, after which we'll have 3 minutes of cross-examination.
Last year, the US government spent $96 billion on smoking-related healthcare needs. Last year, Big Tobacco spent $25 billion on advertisements to keep those people smoking. Last year, the government spent $717 million on smoking campaigns, anti-smoking campaigns. And last year, the president of the Tobacco Institute said roughly 100% of legislation we support will be enacted. Why? Because we're that good. So, I want to start out today by talking a little bit about the industry in question tonight. Big tobacco. Big tobacco. This is big tobacco, this is huge tobacco, this is, oh my god, you can run but you can't hide tobacco, this is, oh, I have lung cancer now tobacco. This is an industry that is destructive and needless. Nobody in here needs to be smoking. And so while you can make the argument that there are all of these different industries that maybe we should take a stance on, this is the place to start, because this is an industry that need not even have a place at bar. And the only reason that it does is precisely what I'm going to talk about right now. The influence that big tobacco has in our country right now, and how that's dangerous, and how it has indoctrinated us into thinking false things such as that smoking is a choice. Alright, so I want to talk a little bit first about why bar? Why would we ban smoking at bar? And the reason is because we are part of the community of higher education. And historically, that community has always taken great strides in progressing social movements. And it has always been the beacon of liberal, progressive, starting new things, doing things for the better good, creating better social good. Universities and colleges are responsible for setting an example. And we're saying that even if the impacts of banning smoking at bar aren't colossal, we're not going to shut down big tobacco, but what we are going to do is we're going to take a stance. And other people are going to see that. And other people are going to start talking about it. And even if we just manage to enhance discourse on campus, we view that as a positive thing in its own. So, what happens before that cigarette even hits your hand? What is big tobacco doing before you can't see it? And I'm going to talk a little bit later about why you can't see it. But for now, I just want to say what they're doing, because I think a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of that. And I know I was really surprised in a lot of the research of, first, so many atrocious things that I see in the news. Why is this something that I have never once seen covered? Why? Alright, so what are they doing? The treatment of employees is a huge issue because big tobacco does its farming in countries with no regulation, with no child labor laws, with no laws saying that you can't employ 8-year-olds, with no laws saying you can't expose those 8-year-olds to dangerous amounts of nicotine every day, equivalent to 50 cigarettes a day. No laws saying that you can't give those children green tobacco poisoning, which results in long-term health effects. And kids are literally dying from this. And this is something that we don't hear about. And we don't hear about it precisely because we are contributing so much to the industry that it now has the political leverage to maintain its atrocious ways. So, over 40% of big tobacco's foreign agricultural employees are between the ages of 6 and 16. And 82% of those kids suffer from green tobacco sickness, which is when you touch so much tobacco that you're absorbing 50 cigarettes worth of nicotine in one day. And this has historically been called a really good case of slavery, but even if you want to look at it as employment, you're talking about young kids. You're talking about 6-year-olds that are dying because of the habits we have needlessly here. Also, it has a huge agricultural impact. And because these companies are going to countries that don't have regulations, what they're doing is they're going in and they're replacing subsistence farmers. They're buying farms. We were feeding people, now we're smoking. And we see this as bad. There's no possible way that this could be good because these farms were feeding the country and now they're being exported in the form of something that's killing us. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. Also, the idea that they're targeting third world countries or developing countries is really important Because not only are they encouraging their employees to smoke, but they're also encouraging struggling populations to pick up smoking, knowing that these are vulnerable populations that perhaps don't see a lot of alternatives or perhaps haven't been educated in how bad tobacco is for you. For instance, in Myanmar, they've been targeting populations that are notorious for being hungry with advertisements about how cigarettes reduce your hunger. That's awful. And BARD as an institution has the responsibility, has the moral imperative to say, I'm not okay with that. So secondly, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with our money once they get it. What are they doing with it here? And this is why we don't see them. Because they're participating in activities and they're maintaining incredible political leverage that we can't even imagine because so much of it is undercover. In 2004, Campbell gave $60,000 worth of food to a local food bank charity. They then spent $22 million on an advertising campaign telling everybody about how they did that. They're looking for good PR because that's what happens when you make it your business to kill people. You have to do things like that. And we see over and over again, their impact in the media is huge. And it's inescapable. I mean, they're sponsoring your sports events, they're in your fashion magazines, they're funding the newscasts you watch. They were even giving free cigarettes to soldiers during different world wars, and I'm pretty sure that's not because they were supporting the troops. These are companies that have it in their best interest to have us addicted and have us thinking that we're choosing to be addicted. And we think that we need to free people from that way of thinking by saying, we're not going to make it a choice just like they haven't made it a choice. But our choice is for the public good. It's for public health. It's for the betterment of the social good. All right, so of the 10 corporations in the world that spend the most on advertising, 6 of them are tobacco companies. And this is no coincidence because they know that slowly but surely there's information out there about how smoking is bad for you. And they need to counteract that. They need to intentionally link smoking with sexual attractiveness, with success, with sophistication, adventure, self-fulfillment, and most hilarious of all, I think, is athleticism, which is kind of ironic. Tobacco firms like the idea that smoking is cool. And so the idea that it's somehow going to impair BARD's image, we don't see that as something that's specific to BARD. We see this as a construct of the big tobacco industries and something that has played out here and that it is now our responsibility to say, no, we're not going to let you indoctrinate us like this. All right, so there's a smoking culture, there's an image, but it's a false sense of culture that has been crafted by the industry because they would prefer that you think it's cool, because even if it's cool, or even if it's bad for you, it can still be cool. And they have really maintained that and done a pretty good job too, because if you look at smoking rates all over the country and how many people are dying every day of smoking, they've clearly got their work cut out for them and they're clearly making it really well. There is not one industrialized country in the world that hasn't placed heavy restrictions on tobacco advertising. So my question is then, why is it even legal? And that's something else that we need to talk about, because tobacco companies use their money for incredible political leverage. And big tobacco is crazy. I don't know if you guys have ever checked out the whooping tobacco prices. If you've gone to Yetis and your pack of cigarettes, it's like $12. $4.35 each pack in New York State goes to the government. And who supported that? Big tobacco. Because they don't care if their products are more expensive, because they know that they have a consumer base that is addicted to them. Camel had the advertising campaign for so long that was I'd walk a mile for a camel. Obviously you would, you're addicted to Camel. And also, beyond that, one of the main reasons that we have the cigarette tax is because cigarette companies encourage political officials to support it. So why would they do that? Because big tobacco wants to make sure that their marriage to government is lasting through sickness and in health, but mostly sickness. And we see this as a huge problem, because why on earth would the government acknowledge that something will kill you? They'll put it on the box, this is gonna kill you. And they'll fund all of these campaigns. They'll spend millions of tax dollars on a campaign, but they won't ban the product. Why? They know it's bad for you, they know it's bad for everyone else. It's not because they see it as a social choice. Why is it? It's because they are married to the tobacco companies. They are addicted to the tobacco companies just as people are addicted to the tobacco. And this is a big problem. So I also want to talk a little bit about what happens once the ban is in effect, and how a certain number of people who currently smoke are going to quit smoking. A certain number of people who currently smoke are going to take extreme measures to reduce the visibility of their smoking. If they're hiding, they're still not there. They're not being perceived as smokers. We're not walking through campus and thinking, am I the only one here who doesn't smoke? Because that's what people think. The admissions office has received complaints from parents, and it's a problem. Because if we can decrease the social environment of smoking, if we can say, I don't see it, fewer people are doing it, it seems like it's less cool, then that will attract people to bar that think the same way, and it has this mushrooming effect. It increases exponentially of people don't smoke. And so even if we're going to absolutely piss off the students at Bard College right now, we're going to do huge things for the future of Bard College and the students that come here and are protected from not only smoking themselves, but are protected from the dangers of secondhand smoke, which they have no issue in the choice. And I'd like to touch a little bit on the opposition's argument about how it damages and distorts the image of Bard, because we just don't see that as true. Because if we think that if you can only link the image of Bard to the idea of smoking or free choice, we say that choice has been indoctrinated. You are indoctrinated by cigarette companies because of their leverage, because of their media influence, because they're everywhere. You see them all the time and you don't even realize it. And we say that because of that, it's not a choice, because you're not making a choice. A, if you're addicted, you're not making a choice. B, if you're not, you're being incredibly influenced by policies that don't make any sense and by companies that do not have your best interests in mind. So thank you. I urge you to support the ban.